Huh? This ain't nothing new, it's what we been doing. This ain't nothing new, it's what we been doing. What we been doing. What we been doing.
What's going on, YouTube? Back with another episode of what we've been doing. Today we put the tank in. We got our pump for the fuel tank. If you watched first video, you'd have known that I dropped my tank because it had a crack and it was leaking fuel. Got that new tank. Got that new fuel pump. About to throw that tank in, that pump in, and throw that tank back up and throw that rear subframe up. As you can see, you see this blue piece right here that you can see in the screen on the top of the fuel pump? I actually forgot to put that part on, so I really put this tank up and down twice. You see right there where the yellow part goes, that's where it goes, that's where it connects to the car, that's the outlet line. I forgot to put that on the first time. So, well, we might see it in the deal, but I'm just doing my quick install. And alright, so I ended up putting this tank up and bringing it back down and back up again. Like, this is what happens when you move faster than you need to. But all in all, when I've done it now, and it took me 4 hours to get it down and back up, everything. And it was I was pissed, none to say the least, but you know, it is what it is. You make those mistakes. Wasn't nobody gonna fix it but me. And so you see right about, yeah, I hooked it up already. But you see the tank is really light, so the jack is really just there for the sole purpose of supporting it while it's like an extra set of hands. You see, I can sling it around if I want to. I ran the tank out like all the way down. There was like an eighth or a quarter of a tank of gas in there when I actually parked it and got it ready to do this job. But yeah, trying to get these straps in really sucks doing it with it this low to the car because you got to angle it and the front of it's hitting the subframe, but you know, we got it done. I would have loved to have done this on a lift. I could have probably done it super quick because there was a whole lot of workarounds. Right here, this is the filler neck. I'm just connecting it because before I go all the way up with the tank, because it will prevent you, and it's really hard to connect with the tank up high. I know because of trial and error. So now we're gonna go ahead and connect these tank straps. And the whole video is pretty much in time lapse because if you watched the first video, then you've seen it all come down, and that one isn't in time lapse. So I just wanted to show the entire video or the project or the job in its entirety. So just for those of you that, if anyone's using this to do their own car, they'll have like all the steps right there on film. That's the camera getting knocked down. And so we're connecting all our fuel tank lines, or the electrical connectors that go to the fuel system. And then we're gonna go and test the car and see if it starts, and check and see if it's leaking fuel before we throw everything up. So you got to know my wife is on the outside of the car, so I'm just gonna crank it. So I just basically turn it on, I let it sit for a second and let it prime, and then we go for the crank. And that's that straight pipe. That's the sound of the straight pipe. Cut it short, we don't need to hear it much longer than that. Now we're gonna go and raise up this rear end. This rear end was really difficult the first try to get up. The second time I did it alone. Like, as you can see, my wife was in the shot a second ago. She's helping me. She's gonna be operating one jack. I actually, on this one, this attempt I used the floor jack, and I used a jack from my truck. And right now I'm just propping it up so that I can get underneath the center or the balance point of the rear end with it. So I didn't have nothing else to, jack stands are in use, so we use some dumbbells, whatever it takes. And so we got that up. And the hardest part about this was, of course, the subframe is super heavy, and so if it falls, it falls. So keep those legs out from under the car. I know people like to sit, and you see me, I'm doing the same thing, but I didn't put my feet really underneath the car. But I know a lot of people like to put their legs underneath the car. Don't do it, because if it falls on your legs, they're probably gonna hurt. And so right now you got to adjust it. The hardest part is adjusting it. It's like a dial or like a pin, a guide pin, like at the top right of the screen. It's the same ones on the other side, and that's those are, you got to get those right. And at the same time, you gotta fight with the springs and the shock strut. That the shock strut never wants to align, or it's always trying to hook on to some other rod end of some sort. So we're just shaking it, just small incremental movements, just making sure it's lined up before we go all the way up. I don't want to hit nothing. I don't want to pinch anything, because we're tearing it up. So we're just taking our time going up with it. And we just make real small moves, and we come and look, and then make another small move and take a look again. And that's the way it works, so that you don't tear anything up while you're trying to fix something. So we're about close enough now to get those mount bolts hand started, so that I can be assured that it won't fall again. Not to say that it did fall, because it didn't fall, but get those on. And that's it right there. Get all these mounts tightened up, and then we're on to the exhaust and the drive shaft, or the drive shaft and the exhaust, in that order is what we'll be putting it on. And move to the other side. Doing a lot of first law breaking. But right there, I'm just showing you, reminding to hook that brake line up. And it's a terrible shot to try to get, so I just show what I'm doing, and then I do it off camera, because it's hard. There's a lot of stuff in the way. I can't do things with one hand, so I'm just gonna hook this brake up. And like I said in the first video, I mentioned that this hose clamp was broken on the filler neck right here, and so that was what you had to do. You get a hose clamp, and you got to open it, because it threads through the side of, there's like a cutout on the side of the hose, and it threads through there, and then you got to wrap it around and then reinsert it into itself and tighten it, of course. And so now we're going to go ahead and put these shocks. We're going to attach these shocks, and pretty cut and dry. The job is really easy. Like once you know what you're supposed to do, it's really simple. It's just the worst part of it is I was on the floor in my garage, and you know, all my contact points were all sore. Like the next day, it's just, you know, you're on the ground, you're laying there, and all your contact points are on straight cement, and so you're just a little sore the next day. And then you, of course, you know, how confined it is under the car, and it is nerve-wracking being under a car. I don't like being under a car, but here we go. And this is after the exhaust was put on, and I just wanted to hear, you know, normally, you know, if you don't put exhaust on properly, or if there's a leak, then you can normally hear it, like that rumble that a lot of people like to hear. Like, I don't want my car to have that rumble unless I throw. It's not a sports car. I like to drive it that way, but it's not one, so I don't want it to sound that way. And the brakes, here are the brakes. I'm bleeding the brakes. I had to use this vacuum because doing a normal brake bleed would not work. And really, it bled well for every tire or every brake, with the exception of the back left or the driver's side. That side would not bleed for the life of me. Like, I did the vacuum on everyone because I went and bought it, so I was like, I might as well vacuum all the brakes. And then I actually had to have my wife pump while I vacuumed in order to get that fluid to come up. And it was difficult. I mean, it was the longest brake job ever. Like, really. And I'm just cleaning up the garage. But that was the end, and I'm just cleaning the garage, and I felt like I might have more to talk about, so I just threw it in there, and I'll leave the camera running. And I like to see the time-lapse transformation of a room when it's filthy. So I figured I'd put it there.
This ain't nothing new, it's what we been doing. What we been doing. What we been doing. This ain't nothing new, it's what we